Welcome to Frankly Franklin. We are here today with the mayor, Brent and Jonathan Westendorf. He is the city manager, and we're going to talk about a lot of fun things. But since this is our first podcast today, we're going to talk a little bit about who, what, when, where, why are we doing this? And want to keep people informed, obviously. But, you know, Jonathan, why don't you kick this off? Why are we deciding to do this podcast for your community?
You know what? I think what's really important to me and to this council is that we are very open and honest and transparent with our community. I think that we do an excellent job as it is already, but the reality is there's a lot going on around this community, and that's all exciting, but it can also be intimidating if you aren't able to keep it all straight. And we have a lot going on.
Yeah, you sure do. You guys really have done a lot. I mean, Mayor, you have to be pretty proud of what your city has accomplished and also all the things that you've done to create transparency with the website, social media newsletters, all the meetings, the town halls. I mean, you guys have led a lot of those. Why did you guys decide to do all of those things? Why is transparency so darn important to you guys?
Yeah, everything we do has to be transparent, or else what's the purpose of doing it? All the direction we get as a council is from the community. That direction is given to staff, and they just continue to outdo everything we expect. But in order to get that out to the community, we've done the community newsletter, do a lot on social media. We do the different
website.
videos. We have the website updates. Then we started doing our town halls. Started holding them here in the city council chambers, and realized that this still feels a little static to some people. So then we went to the fire department, and the Division of Fire hosted, and theirs we've gone to the Franklin City School District, the brand new high school. So we just continue to change venues, change topics, give updates, give Q&As, just constantly push out communication. And we think, hey, maybe a podcast is going to reach a different network of people. Right.
I think when you guys did the walking tour, you guys had a lot of people that just had really good communication. Because I know, the downtown, the Main Street project was a huge undertaking for Franklin, and people had a lot of questions and they didn't understand. Understandably, they're not in government. They don't do what you guys do every day. So they had lots of questions. It was just a great way to have a conversation. So maybe this is that conversation.
Well, and that's really what this is about, right? Is having a conversation with the community. But it's hard to have a conversation if there's nobody in the room providing information back, right?
Sure.
So one of the main goals and one of the things that I think is going to be a interesting opportunity here is not only utilizing this mechanism of communication, but integrating ways for people to provide feedback, right? So can we get people to give us true, honest feedback?
Right.
We have done a wonderful job as far as putting surveys out and getting responses back. And all of those responses have always been very poignant. It's directed. It's not just clicking a box, yes or no. It's providing real information that becomes actionable so that we as staff can hand that over to council and they can make informed decisions. Because without that information, we're just doing the best we can with what we have.
Right.
And so this is just an extra effort to bring more people into that conversation so that we can have good information to make good decisions.
Right. So at the end of this podcast, we're going to have a link up where people can go and give some opinions back and help you guys make decisions. And I think that's super valuable for you guys, but that's going to happen every podcast now, right? You want people to give honest feedback. Now, constructive criticism is always nice, right? As opposed to just, we don't need keyboard warriors, right? We need real good information that you guys can actually act on.
Yeah,
correct.
And we do act on it. And I give this example quite often was our downtown. For 20 years, we've always heard, need to do something with downtown, need to update downtown, do something to drive businesses. So we started putting out town halls. We started having all these Q&As. And I remember we put out one of our events. I had these giant Post-it notes. And I said, we inventing our futures. Our logo. If you could reinvent or invent Franklin, what would you do? So people just write it up, whatever their ideas were.
Right.
And then we had this big town hall, and this lady came up, and she goes, I'd like to see catenary lighting strung about downtown. And I'm very much a realist.
Right.
Jonathan's very much a visionary. So But that lady, like, that sparked that idea. And I even made the comment to Jonathan. I was like, well, we can't do that. And he was like, no, we haven't exhausted all the options. Let's look into it. And we have catenary lighting strung about downtown because that resident came forward and struck that idea. So we absolutely make decisions based off feedback. And that's just a really big example, but a good one.
Well, I think we owe her a thank you.
Yeah.
Because downtown looks amazing, right? I mean, whose idea was it for the music? Did we get that from the community as well? Because that is also really cool.
My friend Walt Disney probably had a lot to do with it.
Fair enough. Well, so guys, tell me why, you said everything it's complex for the community to keep track of. Part of that is because of how much you're doing, right? Yeah. So tell me how are you doing it all? And why is it so complex? And how are you keeping it straight for the community? And how can the community keep it straight? I mean, I know we're doing these things, but
very carefully.
Right. How are you? I know you do a lot of planning. I absolutely know that, but tell me about it so we can explain it to the community. I mean, you do so much. Tell me a little bit about how the process works when you make a change or decide to do an Independence Day parade to show off your community. What kind of decision making goes into that, and how do you do it?
I think people would be surprised to realize how much work actually goes into what is seemingly a simple event, but in reality, it begins months and months before it ever even starts, right? So I think there's a couple things that go into this. Yes, we are moving quickly. There is no question about that. But the reality is we are moving with purpose and with clarity. And I think part of this ideas and these dreams have really been created because I've been here for 25 years. And one of the main reasons I came here was because this community offered so much opportunity. You have 2 exits off of I-75. Our downtown's about a mile from each. We have a beautiful, very large park. We have this gorgeous Great Miami River that's running through a downtown historic business district that's a stone's throw away from the river. And we have so many opportunities to build upon that that we just haven't taken advantage of yet. My poor wife, I drag her along on research dates, and we go from one community to another, and we just make notes and take pictures and say, how can we capitalize on what's working really great in these other communities and bring that here? Because I tell you, we deserve it. And there is no question that we have every bit of opportunity. I will argue far more opportunity than a lot of those communities that are surrounding us, but we just haven't been able to take advantage of that. So these ideas have been in the works, different iterations of planning, saving dollars for decades leading up to this so that we can even get to the point where we have the funds necessary so that we don't go bankrupt.
Right.
The ability to tie all of this together and apply for grants and have one thing that leads to the other, and there's a logic there. That is how we're going to pull this thing off. And I'm excited about it because it's not just possible, it's happening.
And Mayor, I have a question for you about complex planning, but before that, I have a follow-up question on what you were talking about, Jonathan. It is pretty rare for a community your size to be doing the type of things that you're doing.
Yeah.
Can you explain why? I mean, I'm in a lot of communities. I see a lot of stuff like that. So I understand it. I understand what you guys have actually done. I'm not sure that the average Joe, if they're not in the business, understands what you guys are really accomplishing. It's very impressive. I mean, I'm not here to blow smoke up, but you guys, can you explain a little bit about how in the world are you undertaking these huge projects as a city your size? Because frankly, the other cities want to know too.
Yeah. Well, I think Brent has an interesting story where individuals actually approached him and warned him of the stories that we were telling in the plans that we actually had, and as a way to protect the community. And Brent followed up with said, yeah, just watch. You can tell that story if you like.
I don't know. I've been approached by a lot of people with a lot of warnings on what we're doing. Was it during one of the downtown walks?
This was about the downtown stuff, yes. Obviously, talking about, taking Main Street, making it two-way, the riverfront development, just really this idea that we got some very big plans, but we're implementing them.
People would often say, you guys are going too fast. You need to do one thing at a time. Well, we didn't want to act in a linear fashion. We do have a lot of plans.
Yep.
These plans largely came from the community and what they say they want. So now we're doing them. We're strategically sequencing them such that it works, but it's a lot going on at once. And I'll tell you, and I always plug prior councils before I was ever on council, when Jonathan was a fire chief.
Yeah.
People say, like, nothing happened for 20 years around here. That's just not true. The prior councils worked in a manner that was very strategic on debt schedule, saving money. The work they did wasn't flashy and fun, and all the stuff we're doing, we're only able to do it because of the work of prior councils. So I definitely want to give credit where credit's due there.
Right. That's an important aspect of it
absolutely.
as well. Yeah. So tell me what does it take for the staff to manage all of the things that you're doing, the events, the renovations, all of the economic development? I mean, there's, like you said, it's complex. There's lots of different things. So, I mean, I'm a fan of Franklin staff, and I know you guys are too. But tell me, how are you leading that, and how are you managing that? I mean, there's multiple levels to that. So brag on your staff a little bit, because I think they deserve it.
I want to take this one first because
please,
not all the details of how they get it done, but they get it done. And the actual level of staffing we have around here really hasn't changed in the past decade.
Yeah.
But the amount of work has dramatically changed in the past decade.
That's
we have
fair.
the best staff in the world, and I'm just so proud of all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have had a unique opportunity as part of this transition. We have been able to bring in new individuals who understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, and they elected to be a part of that process. Right. And so as they stepped into that role, they did so in a way that they understood there's something bigger down the road as a part of this. One of the very early things that actually probably got our police chief, Adam Cologne, hired is that he spoke in his interview about this idea and concept of cathedral thinking. The idea that you are beginning work that you probably will never see the end of yourself.
Sure.
And so that really resonated to me because our work here is about generational change and improvement. And this is just all the reasons why we're doing this podcast, and we have so much to talk about.
Right. And the people that you're getting, I mean, you have a lot of voices that you have to consider as well. You've got the business community, your staff, 7 council members, chamber, the regular community. Yeah. I mean, this is another piece of how we want to hear from all of those people.
Correct.
And I mean, you've already talked about social, website, newsletters, but just can't say enough about getting people's input.
Yes. And having not only the leadership of the community, but the line level folks of the staff that believe in what we're doing and putting so much effort and making sure that the attention to detail is there. One of my big reasons I love local government is you can make a phone call, you can send an email, you can show up on a Monday night at a council meeting, and change is happening that following morning that quickly.
Right.
Yeah, I get dozens of calls, emails, texts, Facebook messages a day, and I return every single one. And people know that, and that's what we do.
So, Mayor, I'd really love to talk about another really exciting thing that's coming up in Franklin. Everybody's favorite, the Independence Day Parade. Now, I heard a rumor that one of the options, because of everything that was happening here, was to cancel the parade.
That was one of the options. One thing we do is we put every option on the table, even bad options, and that was a bad option. But that was brought up, and council said absolutely not.
Good
We have
for
put
you.
the community through so much, and they've been so patient with all the downtown construction, the roundabout construction, the park construction. We weren't going to take a fun event. It was specifically why we did such a big event for the tree lighting.
Sure.
This past December was to give back and make sure they had fun things to do, because all the fun innovation that we're doing comes at a cost of construction and traffic delays. And,
Yes.
we understand that. So canceling the parade was absolutely not going to happen. Changing the parade was required to happen.
Okay. All right. And so to talk a little bit more about that, we are going to bring in Joe from Rozzi Fireworks. And
Rozzi.
yeah, and we thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Welcome, Joe. Thanks for coming. You're kind of the star of the show in all kinds of ways. I mean, you're always the most popular guy around. So thanks for coming to this show and helping explain what's happening at Franklin for the Independence Day Parade this year. Jonathan, Joe, you guys take it away. Tell us all about this exciting stuff
I tell you what, Franklin has a long tradition of doing some excellent parades and being a community event. And I am very happy that Joe and the Rozzi team and family have been a part of our events now for almost a decade. Yeah. I tell you what, it took a lot of work to convince folks that we wanted to do a fireworks show around here. But when that decision was finally granted, there was no question in my mind of who we were going to go with. Yep. Because I have an even longer relationship with the Rozzi family, because before moving here, I used to work for the Loveland Fire Department, which is where they are based out of. Okay. So my relationship with this group has gone on for a very, very long time. I've actually got to be a shooter at one point in time, and that's not not for everybody, but it was a good experience and I enjoyed it while I did, but I enjoy this much more where I'm at. But yeah, I tell you what, the fireworks in Franklin have been more traditional. This year we are doing something totally new, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Primarily because of the roundabout construction and the construction of the spray park at Dial Park.
Okay.
We had to make some changes logistically to be able to pull that off. And that meant that we needed to focus our events downtown. And with buildings that are 3-4 stories tall, we had some cool opportunities to take advantage of. So Joe,
the coolest guy you knew, and said, hey, let's make it even better.
I did. So I called Joe and said, hey, Joe, what is the chance that we can do some drones? And how can we take advantage of some of these buildings and some of the cool pyrotechnics that you guys have available to you? And we had a conversation, and he came out, and here we go.
And you're not talking about one drone that just takes pictures of things that are happening. You're talking about a drone show.
No, we're talking nice. Hundreds and hundreds of drones and some cool opportunities. So
nice.
So Joe, tell us what can everybody expect?
What is Franklin doing?
Yeah, like Jonathan said, he reached out to me and wanted to do something different. I'm like, oh my God, what do you get me into?
That's what we all say when Jonathan calls every time.
Well, we do these types of shows often. You see them mainly in urban areas, like stadium rooftops and things like that. So we're utilizing 6 rooftops, which we'll refer to as proximate pyro. So this kind of creates a theater in the round.
Cool.
We're inside the show, really.
Yeah.
And then there's another ground site where there's some slightly larger product, but not the traditional aerial show that you would see here, but you're much, much closer. And then we bring in drones, and the drones really add a different element. You can tell a story, or you can do 3-dimensional images. You could do sponsor recognition, things like that. So interesting. We're going to fly about 200 drones, and think of each one as a pixel. So basically, we're painting the sky with pixels.
Wow.
TV up there. Some of the images will be up to 200 feet wide, maybe 200 feet tall. They'll be viewable from anywhere in Franklin. So we're doing a lot of these combined drone and fireworks shows, and they really, really add a different element. So it's really something special to see.
Are there any other ones in the Dayton area? There really are. I mean, not combined like this. This is pretty special. This is pretty unique.
Yeah, it is. We're coming more and more. We have a few other shows around town. Yeah. We do fly something similar at Kings Island.
Okay.
Throughout the summer, and that's kind of how we got into drones.
Okay.
Was the need to fulfill a need to tell the story of Kings Island.
Sure.
So it just kind of went from there. I mean,
that's some nice company to be in. Kings Island and Franklin doing the same thing. Wow. Hi.
You're talking to a fireworks guy, so the first time someone suggested drones, I'm like,
sure.
Huh.
That could be fun. We could maybe have some fun with that.
You could have some fun with it, but they work well together.
Yeah.
Right. So you can add just a completely different element to your Independence Day celebration.
And there aren't a lot of places that can pull off pyrotechnics on rooftops. It's very safe. I mean, obviously you guys know what you're doing, and it's a different type of. It's not a big firework, so it's very safe. But it does bring the element closer to the people, and it's a really cool experience for people who have never seen it. I mean, like you said, it's closer, but it's cool.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's very clean product. It's a different discipline of fireworks.
Sure.
There's negligible amount of, if any, debris, and it has to be like that because you're on rooftops where if you're on rubber, if you're on asphalt or gravel covered, it has to be treated in a very delicate manner. Plus, again, you're a lot closer to people. So,
Right.
So they have to work perfectly every time.
Yep.
There can't be a oops. Because in a regular show, you have plenty of room for an oops.
Right. You don't hear. So this is a pretty big undertaking. I mean, this is a pretty cool departure from what you've done.
Yeah, and I think it's fun to work within constraints, and it causes you to be a little bit more creative. Logistically, things had to change. Typically,
what are the constraints? What happens?
Typically we're setting the parade up, and we're leading the parade at 10 a.m.
Yep.
Right, and that's going right through downtown. Well, the reason that can traditionally happen is because my friend Tyler, who is a world-renowned fireworks expert, he's the guy that leads our shows for us. He's usually setting all of that up out at Dial Park.
Right.
And we're setting up for a festival at Community Park. Well, those aren't available this year.
Okay.
So the parade, the fireworks, all of that all has to be set up and ready to go, because we're going to start this thing at 5 p.m. The parade starts off at 5. As soon as the parade is over, the festival component will begin. And then at 10 p.m., assuming that the weather and everything goes along well, that's when the fireworks and the drone show will begin. And we'll have a great experience at that time. Right. But all of that work, getting the lifts, get the explosive material up to the top of the roof, set, safety, inspected, all of that. That all has to happen during the day.
Explosive material.
Yeah, I kind of cringed at that. I was like, wait a minute.
Maybe that's not the right terminology, Mr.
Trying to get people
Chief.
there.
Pyrotechnics is the proper term.
Pyrotechnics. There you go.
All right.
So the parks that aren't available, they're not available because of the other stuff that you're doing. The
Correct.
exciting things that are happening in Franklin are what's happening, right?
Yeah, correct. Construction and things just limit access or the ability to exit. Things that would make and detract from the normal event get in the way of that. So ultimately, we worked around it and combined it all in together as one.
All right. So logistics. Tell everybody, where should I park? Where's the best viewing? What time should I get there? Tell us about how this is going to work differently this year with all this cool stuff, because nobody's going to want to miss it. But it's a new system. So give everybody a few helpful hints.
Yeah, for those that have come down to the parade year after year, basically you want to start later in the day. Obviously, instead of the parade starting at 10, it's going to start at 5 p.m. So come down like you typically do, line up where you typically do. We're going to come across the Lions Bridge down Main Street, just like we did all the way down down to the old Anthony Wayne School. Mm-hmm. That's where ultimately everything will end. But anywhere along Main Street, there at Second and Main Street, that's where the best viewing areas for the parade will be.
Okay.
As soon as the parade ends, we are going to collapse down the event space from 5th Street up to where the Speedway is, and all of the events will be contained within that area.
Okay.
So downtown, we will have live music. We have food trucks, we have inflatables and rides for the kids, all free, by the way. So come down, enjoy, be a part of that experience.
Food trucks are probably for pay.
Yeah, you're going to have to, unfortunately, you have to pay for that.
Pay for your food. Okay, all right.
But as far as the entertainment goes, that's all free.
Yep.
And ultimately, we will just have a wonderful time leading up to the grand event.
Okay. And so, Joe, when this 10 o'clock time frame rolls around, assuming the weather's good, tell us what we might expect without giving it all away. I mean, pyrotechnics off the roof. And I'm standing on Main Street right underneath it. Tell me how to get my camera ready. Tell me where to stage my kids so I can get the best photo. Tell me what to be looking for. Do I just set my chair up and sit there and enjoy it and forget the phone for the night? What do we do here?
You want to be standing. You want to be a little bit mobile. Because
all right.
if you're down the center of Main Street, you're going to find yourself looking around like this, right?
Wow.
You're going to look around in all directions.
Okay.
You'll see off to the north the drone show, which will be in a fixed position.
All right.
So it'll be consistent throughout about 12 minutes of the show. Battery life only allows for about 12 or so minutes of drone flight. So, and all throughout the entire, I believe it's a 15, 20-minute show, you're going to see activity. And then over in front of our firehouse here is going to be a ground site where there'll be a lot more activity. So,
wow.
So I promised Jonathan I wouldn't burn his firehouse.
Okay, that's good. Well, yes, let's please not do that.
So you're going to be kind of surrounded by it.
Okay, so Las Vegas Sphere, move over.
Basically, yeah.
The show is in Franklin on the 4th of July.
There we go.
All right, I like that. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yep.
What else? What else we need to know about the parade or any other events
Well, I tell you, since we got Joe here, one of the things that is very common in Franklin is people like to have their own personal private shows.
Let's talk about
let's take a moment and talk about
don'ts.
The do's and don'ts of consumer-based fireworks. What's good, what's not good, and how do people keep safe?
You want to make sure you're buying them from licensed and reputable retailers, right? And there's a few of them around the area. There aren't a whole lot in Ohio, but there's some. You want to read the instructions. There's labels printed right on the sides of the devices. I believe the state also has some guidelines concerning fireworks safety. Make sure you have enough room. Make sure you have a charged hose sitting there. One of the most important things is at the end of the night, leave it. Leave all of your devices there until the next morning.
Okay.
Do not rake up the paper. Do not pick up your devices.
Really?
And put them in a
That's
garbage
good advice.
can,
Okay.
because they can smolder.
Sure.
And in recent years, there's been a couple of house fires where garbage can full of debris, you put it back up against the house. Sometime overnight, it sparks up.
Right.
If you have children and they want to use sparklers, make sure there's a bucket of water.
Yeah.
Make sure that sparkler always goes in a bucket of water.
Yep.
Because when that little wire is done, it stays hot.
Yep.
And then everything under adult supervision. Leave the alcohol till after you're done. Yeah, no alcohol. And just take your time, but read the label. It'll tell you exactly what you need to do.
Okay. And Jonathan, what are the rules in the city of Franklin? Do we have rules for shooting fireworks?
There are definitely rules, and unfortunately, they don't always get followed very well. But the reality is you want to make sure that you're making smart decisions, right?
Yes.
Make sure that you're not launching anything that is near somebody's home. You don't want your celebration to turn into somebody else's nightmare.
Absolutely.
So use some common sense. Stay away from the alcohol. Watch out for the little ones. Make sure that they're safe. Understand that there's risks associated with this, but they can be fun.
Yes.
And just be careful.
You know, I was at Kroger the other day, and there's a big signs outside that say no fireworks within 300 feet of the store, and I'm like, what happened here? Right?
There's those state laws.
So, yeah. Okay. All right. I was say so. Whew, man, I'll tell you, you guys got to be careful with some of those fireworks. Thank you for listening to Frankly Franklin today. We learned a lot about our events, and I hope you tune in next week. And I also hope that you visit the website and our social media and answer some of our survey questions. Give us some of that important, valuable feedback to keep making Franklin better. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.